Here's exactly what you're about to see. The threat setup, the decisive electronic warfare move, and the consequence, the moment the Su-30 pilot realized he'd lost to data. We'll break down how space-based infrared spotted the heat signature, how Allied networks fused tracks before radar horizon mattered, and how Gravely's ANSLQ-32 and a Nulka decoy created a non-kinetic kill. You'll walk away knowing why the ship held fire even with 18 intercept tracks ready, and why the real victory was the intelligence gathered in those seconds. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Before Gravely's radar even cleared the horizon, an orbiting sensor had already tagged the threat, so why was the VLS still closed? USS Gravely steamed east of the shipping lanes, 80 nautical miles off Crimea, holding a steady patrol line. In the Combat Information Center, the watch team built a track from a whisper, a Su-30 SM pressing in from the northeast, moving fast and low. It wasn't a surprise contact. A heat signature had flared in space minutes earlier, and now the icon marched across the plot. The destroyer could light off missiles with a single call, but silence ruled the room. No one rushed. The officer of the deck held course, and the airwatch supervisor matched calm with calm. The Russian pilot tried to squeeze under physics. At a few hundred feet above the sea, radar has less Earth to bend around, and the detection range collapses. That dash trades safety for stealth. He wanted the ship's radar to see him late and dirty, forcing a snap decision. He also wanted to draw a response he could record. A low ingress means clutter, multipath returns, and short timelines. It also invites a different kind of trap. The kill chain had started far from the ship. A space-based infrared system saw a hot plume when the jet spooled and climbed. High-resolution imagery from another platform cued the track and confirmed a twin-engine signature. Those feeds rode encrypted paths through theater nodes and down into Gravely's Aegis Baseline 9 console. The CIC didn't wait for its own sensor to wake up. It joined an active picture already forming overhead. Every update refined velocity, heading, and altitude. Every second made the next second cleaner. Radar horizon is a stubborn rule. A mast at a set height can't see below the curve until the contact rises or closes, but that rule weakens when offboard eyes carry the search burden. Cooperative engagement lets a ship fight with other people's sensors. An airborne early warning aircraft holds altitude above the Clutter and paints low flyers beyond any single ship's line of sight. That is how a low approach stops being clever and starts being predictable. The network flowed. An E-2D Hawkeye broadcast linked 16 tracks with solid quality. Allied nodes on the periphery filled timing gaps and flagged changes in mode. Within half a second of each refresh, the system generated a stack of intercept solutions and auto-scaled ranges for surface-to-air weapons. The console crews saw not one path, but many viable paths. Fire control had options for a shoot, for soft kill, and for combined effects if needed. On one side, a single aircraft probed for a twitch. On the other, a warship sat inside a web of space, air, and surface sensors that moved data faster than any airframe could sprint. Speed mattered, but speed of truth won. The SM-2 cells were ready, the Nulka decoy could launch, and the electronic warfare suite waited under cold metal. The question wasn't can we kill, it was should we reveal how. They chose patience. Holding fire denied the pilot his script and gave the ship more reads on his behavior. Range gates, sweep rates, and track stability over sea clutter told the team what mode he rode and what he expected to see. Every second improved the decoy plan and sharpened the timing for a clean, soft kill. The destroyer set the stage, not the jet. With the threat framed and options primed, the bridge cued electronic warfare, kept the tubes closed, and shifted to a plan that could end the run without a plume in the sky. The next update on the pilot's scope would carry more than a blip. It would carry a decision he didn't like. What did Major Kuzman see when his radar showed ghosts to the south and a dozen missiles screaming in from the north? None of them real. Gravely shifted from quiet tracking to active shaping of the battle space. The AN/SLQ-32V lit up in a tailored mode aimed at the Su-30SM's sensors, not to blind them outright, but to feed them a story they would accept. And the ship kept its weapons tight and its own radar profile steady. The electronic warfare team mapped the jet's emissions, then injected returns crafted to sit neatly inside his expected ranges. They weren't guessing, they aimed for believable. The jet's scope began to wander. Range gates that had been crisp now drifted. Angle and velocity cues refused to line up with the sea state and the known wind. Tracks that should have held steady jittered at the edge of lock. Kuzman faced a pilot's worst fork: commit on bad data and risk flying into a trap, or break away and face a failed run. He scanned for confirmation. He got contradictions. Here's how the spoof worked. Digital radio frequency memory captured the jet's radar pulse, turned it into digits, and sent back a near-perfect copy with tiny changes. Timing nudges made a real ship look offset by miles. Amplitude tweaks stacked several echoes at different strengths, as if a small formation shadowed a larger metal hull. Frequency shifts slid the returns just enough to suggest movement where there was none. To the radar, these were not guesses. They matched the waveform and the math. That is why they stick. Then the decoy arrived. Nulka kicked off the beam, climbed and hovered in its operating envelope while transmitting a signature tuned to look bigger and cleaner than a destroyer. It sat at a spot that made sense to a seeker. High contrast, strong return, easy geometry. Threat seekers, trained to chase the brightest target, would turn toward it without a second thought. The ship kept sailing. The fake ship waved its hand. Inside the cockpit, the noise floor rose. Warning tones stacked, each tied to a different threat class. Symbols multiplied, some coasting, some flickering with high confidence. Track quality dropped one notch, then two. The radar warning receiver spiked with cues that matched a missile shot timeline, even though no tube had opened. The mental model broke. A moment ago, he had one ship. Now he had a cluster to the south, hot launches from the north, and a return near the waterline that did not fade the way steel should. While the jet wrestled with ghosts, gravely harvested, the system logged radar modes as they changed, recorded sweep patterns, captured how the jet's software reprioritized and filtered when stressed. It noted how long it took for the pilot to switch modes and which filters he trusted. When returns went messy, that package was compressed on the fly and sent by satellite to analysts who turn raw emissions into tactics and counters. This beat a kinetic shot for several reasons. It held escalation in check and kept the ship's magazines full. It also exposed the jet's playbook in real time, showing which lures drew attention and which waveforms forced a break lock. That data teaches the network to win the same fight faster the next time and to adjust when an adversary updates. Kuzman rolled out, then climbed and turned cold. He had no target he trusted and no timeline he controlled. The destroyer never fired, yet it took the win and left with sharper fingerprints of the threat. The next time a fast mover tries that lane, the network will start the game already inside its loop, and for the pilot who thinks low and fast still beats the curve, the radar won't be his biggest problem. The real win wasn't a launch. It was the adversary's playbook, captured in seconds. By harvesting modes, sweeps, and decision logic, the Navy walked away with leverage that outlasts any splash. Speed of information beat speed of metal, and the jet's analog rhythm couldn't keep pace with a fused digital defense that learned mid-fight. If you value precision over noise and want more deep dives on non-kinetic advantage, subscribe and tell us what system you want decoded next. Radar, jammer, decoy logic, drop it below. Next time we'll test which bends the battle space faster, drone swarms that flood sensors, or deception nets that rewrite what sensors believe.